at 6:30. And we'll begin with a Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll follow that with the a prayer, and we'll have a moment of silence for Brenda Adams before that. And then our Republican County Chairman, Daniel, will have a prayer. So would anybody like to honor a veteran with leading our pledge?
I would definitely like to honor Kenny Hunt. He's actually my father-in-law, and he served during the Korean War conflict over there.
Thank you, Kenny.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we will remember Brenda for a moment, please. Thank you.
If you would bow your heads, please. Our most kind Heavenly Father, we are grateful for this opportunity that we have to meet together to discuss the needs of this county. We are grateful for the elected officials that we have, those here and those that are not present, and for all the dedication and work that they do to help our county move forward. We pray that as we go about this day, that Thou would bless our deputies that are out in the field, that they will be safe, that Thou would bless our EMS workers that are out there saving lives. We thank Thee for all their dedication, and we pray that Thou would bless this meeting as these important decisions are made today, that Thy will be done. And these things we say in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Daniel. Okay, we'll begin with our new business. Oh boy, I'm going to be so glad when they get these new chairs someday. These things make you feel like you're a little kid eating your breakfast. Like Mikey.
Say the new chairs are nice.
How do you keep getting it down there?
I come early. I'm prepared.
What happens in November or October? All right. First order on the business is a commodity flow study that was done by a bunch of guys watching a bunch of trucks. And Mark, I guess that's how that worked. Mark, our MA director, will explain these to us.
After that, I don't really see a need to go any further with this. You've pretty much done a good job. We got a grant for the commodity flow study. And with 69 coming through our county, we're going to have a lot more hazardous materials that flow through Morgan County. So they identified how many trucks were coming through the county a day, what highways they used, and what they were carrying. So when we got this back, we sent it out to all the fire departments, and we'll keep this updated as it goes. Once 69's finished, we're going to get with Monroe County and look at their commodity flow study and then combine our information. So I think it was a great study, and I think it's going to be very beneficial for us. I think Tori sent a copy to you, didn't she, Deb? Okay. So Deb would have a copy if you want to look it over. But the other thing on the agenda was the hazardous materials, excuse me, the multi-hazard mitigation plan update. Kenny had done the original plan through IUPUI, and we're due for to have the plan gone over again for updates. So the state of Indiana has provided $19,457, and out of that, $6,486 we have to provide through our own work, and they just credit the hours that were paid. So
This is my copy.
Kenny and I discussed this, and there shouldn't be any problem to reach that with our hours.
No.
Tori put $25,000 on the grant amount, but it's actually $19,457. That $6,400 comes out of that. So I sent the contract to Josh, and he'd look it over, and he had a couple of minor things with the contract. Jim, you have that, I believe, the contract that Josh had sent you.
Talking about the IU.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, we looked at it and we didn't have any problem with it, especially considering what it was and who it was.
Okay. So what I would need from the commissioners is a okay for me to go ahead and sign that contract and send it in and get this started.
Thank you, Mark. There's a lot of counting and a lot of, and you're always good about our grant money. I appreciate that a lot. The county appreciates it. I'm trying to find that, I had it right here on the top. The agreement on the,
What they're going to provide and what we.
I'm sorry?
It's what they're going to provide to us in this, and I guess it's a pretty standard contract.
That's on the mitigation.
We do.
I'm sorry?
Carter makes the motion that we adopt the pre-disaster mitigation program as presented.
Brian Collier has made the motion to approve the agreement. Do we have a second? Motion's been made and seconded for the research grant service that applied for. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And motion passes 3-0. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And do we have a folder for the signature? It's already in there. You are ahead of me, which is not uncommon. All right. I'm sorry? Grant application?
It's the agreement with the center.
We've got both those things? Oh, yeah, I see it. So we need we need a motion on the grant
Yes.
application, correct?
Kenny Hill makes a motion on the agreement with the Polis Center to do the multi-hazard mitigation plan for EMA in Morgan County.
I'll second that motion. All in favor of the motion on the multi-hazard mitigation plan update grant, signify say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. We've got both those in the chute. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is a rezone request on Linville Road. Mr. Mannion, this has been before our zoning, but would you care to address it, or?
Yeah, this is residential, going from agricultural to agricultural to residential, 33 acres on Linville Road, about 2105, about a mile and a half south of 252.
More people move in the county, although I hate to see all the cattle leave, so. But I appreciate your work, and I think they got a favorable vote of 7-0-1 at the meeting. Do you have any questions, gentlemen? I'll entertain a motion.
Kenny Hill makes a motion, we approve the rezone request going from ag to R1 on the Linville Road application.
Been made. Do we have a second?
Brian Carter seconds.
Commissioner Collier seconds. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0, and good luck with your development, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Townsend Road.
Oh, no, he doesn't have that one. That's the next one. That gentleman wasn't able to be here, but Laura's going to take care of it. We also have a rezone request on Townsend Road, and the gentleman was not feeling too well, so Laura Parker from
Good
our zoning.
evening. Yes, Mr. Larson couldn't be here tonight because he's ill. I told him that I would respond to any questions you might have. This rezone request is for a 2-lot minor plat on Townsend Road and totals 10 acres. And the request was to go from ag to R1.
That went before the board and was,
Plan Commission forwards a
Planning
favorable
Commission
request,
approved that
yes.
7-0, or 7-1-0.
701, yes.
7-0-1. Thank you, Laura. Any questions concerning that rezone? If not, I'll entertain a motion on that.
Hill makes a motion, we go ahead and approve the favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission on the rezone request on Townsend Road from ag to R1 as well.
Do we have a second?
Brian Collier seconds.
I'll second, or I mean, I'll I was ahead of myself. So we have a motion and second on the rezone request. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Okay, moving ahead here, we have a grant application from the Health Department. Jeannie, who keeps us healthy, or works at it.
Good evening. Yeah, this is just our base and our CRI grants that we've been getting now every year for the last several years. The majority of the funds, we're paying our preparedness coordinator. He appreciates that. And then he's got some equipment and supply funds in there. But the majority is going for salary and benefits, so.
Jeannie, always like to see that grant coming. Do we have any questions on the grant for the Health Department? If not, the chair will entertain a motion.
Hill makes a motion, that we approve the grant application for the Health Department for the base/CRI grant in the amount of $25,000, total amount $44,335 with the base amount of $25,000.
We have a second. Motion's been made and seconded for the Health Department to proceed with the grant for the base and CRI, $44,335. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeannie. Let's see. We didn't get, do we have something on Bridge 52?
Yes, good evening, gentlemen. Tony's not able to be here this evening, and is actually a mistake. It's actually Bridge 41. He just needs a title sheet executed by you all. The plans have been prepared. He will come to your next meeting and ask for approval to advertise putting this bridge out to bid. So tonight is just a signature on the title page getting ready for coming to you at your next meeting. So, and this is Bridge 41 on Liberty Loop Church Road.
So the motion would be on the Bridge 41 instead of 52?
That's right.
Okay. Motion.
Kenny Hill makes a motion, we approve the signature on the title sheet on Bridge 41 on Liberty Church Road.
And a second.
I'll second, but how am I supposed to know the difference between Bridge 52 and Bridge 41?
Look in your bridge report, inspection report.
You always
that
ask
you
these difficult
received.
questions.
You got one
You
for
got
sure,
one.
didn't you?
It's on a little, it's actually,
Flash drive and the big paper copy from United Engineering. Okay.
oh, we'll get you one.
I can-
I've
I'll
got a
share
big,
mine with
we got a, you look in that drawer where you remember where you hid my chocolates? There it is.
Is that where your flash drive is?
I'll get you one.
Okay.
All in favor of the motion that's been made and seconded, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Same sign. Motion passes 3-0. Thank you, sir. Let's see, next thing we have is an engagement letter with Fashman, Bushman, and Vogel concerning our bot program.
You know, this one's not related to BOT. This one is related to the Harrison Township Fire District possible merger with
It's about what?
the Harrison Township
Oh,
Fire
yeah,
Fire
not
District
BOT. I wrote
possible
the-
merger with the
Got
Bargersville
it,
Fire
wrote the
District.
wrong one.
There was a
Harrison.
joint session of the council and commissioners.
Right.
Where we invited Bargersville Fire District and Johnson County Commissioners as well.
Yeah.
Out of that meeting, it was decided that the commissioners would take the lead in getting an attorney to help walk this process across the finish line if it's going to go that way. And so tonight's just the official start of that.
I see it. I wrote it down on the top of the thing, but didn't write it on my agenda right. So this is for the attorney and his fees for putting something together out in Harrison Township for the fire department,
That's correct.
for Bargersville and taking care of Harrison Township. Any questions, gentlemen? Right? Always got to get an attorney involved, make sure she's right. We have a motion to approve this agreement.
Brian Tyler makes a motion that we adopt and accept the agreement as outlined.
Second.
Seconded for the attorney for the Harrison Township Fire Department in Bargersville. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Thank you, sir. Now, make sure I got this one correct. Engagement, we're engaging a lot of folks.
Yes, we are these days. This next one is related to the BOT process, which the commissioners undertook a few months ago and have been working through that process. As we get closer to having a project that we would want to present to the commissioners and council, we want to make sure that we have legal representation going through all the BOT documentation. And so this would be project-specific to engage Taft Law to help us through that process. You guys at the last meeting engaged our CPAs to work with us on the municipal side for the financial advising, and this is the legal side.
Do we have any questions, gentlemen? Jim?
I'm just a bad liberator. Oh, that.
I have none.
Now getting a microphone?
I'm shy.
I have no comment. All right, any questions on the agreement with Taft?
Brian Kyer makes the motion that we accept the engagement letter with TAF as outlined.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any other further questions? All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. That motion passed 3-0. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
The next one, I'm glad you have your mic there. The next one's on a land acquisition update. I think you've been following it, sir. Would you go ahead
Yes.
and?
Through this acquisition and this process, I'd like that we move that we accept the average of the two appraisals of 12.6, which is the average for the HTFD property. This should be considered just compensation. And I'd also, within that motion, would like to authorize the county's attorneys handling this acquisition to do a current title search of the property in order to facilitate the acquisition.
Thank you. I'll second that motion. Any questions or? I'll accept the vote. It's been made and seconded by Mr. Collier. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Thank you, sir. This next one's a little interesting. It's, I've got to, maybe I passed it up real quick. This concerns oh, come on up.
My public speaker's not here.
Paving update. We can go with Grant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you, gentlemen. Paving update, this year's paving, we're having some, quantity, length, width issues. The good news is we've got the finances to cover it. We'll have, some more detailed information coming forth soon, as far as exactly what's gonna take place on what road.
Thank you. Grant Collingsworth is our new highway superintendent, and I should have introduced you when you came up and just say, "Hi, Grant."
We've done that.
But you've been on the job not too awfully long and jumping right into it.
Yeah.
And as an old inspector for the state highway on roads, which I didn't do a lot, but I understand the importance of numbers. And
Yes.
I'm glad you're seeing you on top of it.
Yep.
And I'm glad to see what you're doing. We need, I don't think we need any motion or made, just appreciation of your work. I don't think there's any place for a position of official capacity here, but just to thank you for being on top of it and making that report and keeping us in tune of what's
For
going
sure.
on. Of course, I've got about 5 roads I want to talk to you about. No, just 2.
I got 12.
Don't pay attention to District 2.
I do have one question. Are we
Go right
pretty much finishing up chip and sealing now? Are we in the
We are
last leg?
completed with the chip and seal
It
process.
is complete
but
now.
We are gonna go back through and do the fog sealing just as soon as weather allows.
Are we gonna be able to do it on all roads, or we just select
All
all of them? Good
All of
deal.
them that we've chip and sealed, we will.
Thank you.
Fog seal.
Thank you so much.
We're gonna implement that process on all chip and seals from here out.
I agree.
Terrific.
Fogging them.
It's very
Yes.
appreciated.
That
Appreciate it.
that should cut down on a lot of the complaints that you traditionally get with chip and seal.
Yes, it will, and I appreciate that follow-up on the work.
No,
It's
not a
always
problem.
very
You're
good.
not getting enough, Brian. I can share some of mine with you.
No, I get plenty of phone calls. I've changed my phone number 3 times, and they just keep finding it.
That's because I keep telling them.
Grant, do we need, I read it in one of my emails, do we have to act upon the right of entry agreement? You threw that at us.
Actually, yeah, that's the next topic of new business.
I'm not seeing it in my
and,
packet, but I know I
I'm-
read it in an
I'm gonna
email.
kind of speak briefly on that. More or less, I sent an email out with some copies of right of entries that we had put together. Jim and both Josh have reviewed them, more or less gave them their blessing. We're gonna combine the 2 and make one. This is just a secondary insurance for us, guys. We get a lot of the public that just wants us to dump the side ditch dirt in their, backyard or whatever. We just can't take that liability anymore. So we're gonna have to implement this right of entry, and the landowner's just gonna have to sign off on it before we go on to it. And that's more or less all that boils down to.
Makes sense to me. I'm surprised
Yeah.
we don't already have that in place.
Yeah, I'm
Would've
surprised we
thought.
aren't. So that will be coming, that document will be coming in our hands probably next
Yeah,
meeting.
actually, it should be ready as early as tomorrow. Unfortunately, I couldn't have it put together today.
Just don't enter. No, I appreciate you getting it done, Grant. And, yeah, I'm like Commissioner Collier, I'm surprised we didn't have something, and glad we do. So
Yeah.
thanks for that
That's all I
improvement.
got. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Questions?
Any questions?
Chairman? Don,
Yes, sir.
we need to address the resolution.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
That's the
Okay.
next coming up. We have a resolution to provide a one-time stipend to county employees for the dedication during the pandemic. There's several whereases here, but I'm going to jump to the bottom one because I think it covers about everything else. It says, whereas due to the foregoing, the funds available as part of the federal government's response to the pandemic, a one-time stipend to the county employees subject to certain restrictions is warranted and justified in order to recognize and thank the county employees for their work during these difficult times. What this bottom line is, and I say this to our man of the press right up in front, is that we have, we're going to forward this to the council, who will make the final decision as far as what we're requesting. But we're requesting, and we've talked about a $3,000 stipend. Several other governmental organizations are in that neighborhood, but we want to recognize I guess you say a thank you and the extra work that went in that was accomplished by the people in our county. And so we are looking at a $3,000 one-time stipend with the stipulations that I won't go all the way through. Basically, if you were employed and we're taking care of military included in that. Josh, is there something else that I should mention besides that? The military, you've been following this pretty close.
Yeah, the things I'll just go ahead and add a little bit to. One, the whole reason we're doing this resolution in this form and sending it to the council, because this has resulted in a conversation with Don and Kim, and the council took action during budget hearings and said, we would like to do this to the $3,000 level, and asked Don and Councilwoman Meredith to put together a framework for how do we do this so we make sure once the date comes to send a check to people that we don't have people showing up saying, well, why don't I get anything? We wanted to clearly outline who is eligible and who isn't. And so, like Don said, we've got military, there's dates requirements. You have to be employed by a certain date. You have to still be employed by October 4th, which is how this resolution reads, assuming the council passes it at their next meeting. Then there are certain offices that are not eligible for this. And then there are other full-time elected officials that will be eligible, but they will not be eligible until next year because of the way laws work with budgeting. So all that's lined out in here. It's up for your consideration this evening. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to address them.
I think the other aspect that I didn't mention, one of the things is we also, I think you might have mentioned it, is we're prorating it for folks. There's a proration based upon when they were employed. I think the general idea was that we want to be grateful. I think that covers the whole ballgame, and we have the ability to do that, and we're going to do that. So this will go to the council. I've talked to the president of the council, Kim Meredith, and this is something we kind of worked out and present to you folks as a thank you to our employees. So it's from us to the council to the folks. And that's what we're planning on doing. Any questions?
One comment before I make the motion to adopt this is that anyone who's voting on this and signing this, that votes on this, is not getting the stipend. So this is not self-serving.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you sharing that. The council nor the commissioners will be involved. That's because Councilman Commissioner, well, I'd say mostly Commissioner Collier doesn't work, but just part-time.
That's right. Don said no.
Turns off your phone at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. No, we're considered part-time, but even if we weren't, it wouldn't be appropriate. So it's not for us, it's for the folks. So are you making a motion, sir?
Brian Collier makes a motion that we adopt the resolution to provide a one-time stipend to county employees for their dedication during the pandemic.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion passes 3-0, and we'll forward this to the council.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, let's see.
You're killing me, Smalls.
Is Chelsea, Chelsea? Oh, she made it. She got away from the kids.
I did.
Chelsea.
Barely. Kicking out.
Chelsea Mann with the RDC has got some information for us about the fiber.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. Chelsea Manns on behalf of the Morgan County Redevelopment Commission. We also have President of the Redevelopment Commission, Daniel Elliott, is here this evening. So just to give you a little bit of background, the Redevelopment Commission started discussing broadband and the need for fiber. And as you know, infrastructure's in our wheelhouse, right? That's what redevelopment commissions do. So we started really talking about it and realized, well, this is not really a redevelopment commission project, because although infrastructure is, we're limited to really our TIF districts. So this is more of a county project. So with that, we had some conversations with Josh. Daniel and I had some additional conversations, thought that potentially this could be something ARPA money could be used for. But tonight, I'm not asking for money. All I'm asking for is your blessing to do a little more due diligence. Josh and I have had some conversations, and am I volunteering you? Voluntolding you? Something like that, something like that. Hoping that you will grant us the ability to do some more due diligence. I think that if we, between he and I on behalf of the commission, could do some legwork. We have had private industry in the county has really spent a lot of money on broadband in the last few years. And I think if we could kind of pool the meeting of the minds, if you will, also speak to our schools. If we've learned nothing else in the last 20 months, I think we've all realized the importance of reliable broadband. Our schools know that. The people who live here know that because they're working from home. And we want to make sure that if there are any gaps that we're trying to address that. So I'm not asking for money. I'm basically asking for a blessing from the commissioners to potentially form a task force, a committee, whatever you would like to term it, that I'm happy to serve on, again, on behalf of the County Redevelopment Commission, hopefully along with Josh, to really better investigate the needs of broadband and fiber in Morgan County. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have with that.
Chelsea, thank you. And I certainly would support my idea, and just a blessing would be to, let's put a small group of folks together that are very informed to do the due diligence to see what we need to find out and who's can do it. And I think between you and Dan and Josh and anybody in this meeting, anybody that has an interest, I know there's, I've always thought that this was one of the key things. The state's really helping it out too. They're giving a lot of support and funding for, and it's happening, but we need to kind of get I guess you say, our hands around it. It's going right down Bethel Road, but I don't know that's going to help me. But, you know, I know it won't now because there's just little tubes sticking out in the air. But the whole program of broadband is so critical. And it's exciting to see we're making some progress in that area, and there's some funding for it. So why don't you put your heads together and put together a committee, and certainly we would support that. Or at least that would be my thought. Comments from the other commissioners could be certainly welcome.
My only 2 cents, I know Endeavor's done it out in the western part of the county. I know South Central Indiana RMC has as well. I know, talking to Johnson County RMC not too long ago, they was planning on doing it. I know there's a tremendous amount of next level fiber available as far as funding source going to the grant. So I'm fully supportive. I know you've got a couple areas of the county that's really needed badly that I've not found a group that does it because it's in a hoe with the RMCs and Endeavor, and Duke and IPL is not doing it. So, I mean, I would welcome it, that's for sure.
There, speaking of broadband, it's right there in front of us here. Another one, just a small suggestion, was the Farm Bureau has a program now called Check Your Speed. And there are some counties are actually, anybody can check the speed of their internet. And then they can find out, I think Rush County, I know that one's happening right now. We're going to be going to a conference. A couple of us are here. 3 or 4 of us are going to be down at a conference where this will be something that we'll pursue and be able to send us some information to you on who's doing it and how it can be done. And let's keep the ball rolling and find out where the holes are and fill them.
Perfect.
It's like a paving job with the internet. And
Yes.
That's what we want to do.
Very good. Well,
You
thank
have our blessing.
Very good. I
think
appreciate it.
would-
More
thank
to
you.
come then.
Thank you for coming up and leaving those poor little kids.
Of course.
We're glad to have you, Chelsea. Thank you so much. Oh, We have the next item in old business, and let me, unless I missed anything in new business. I think we're good on the new business side. I see in old business, we have a deed of dedication. This comes from, actually from a little short note, I'll read it very quickly, from Tony Hinkle, our Morgan County engineer. 4 deeds of dedication that need for Hadley's Corner Road dedication. Thought there were 2, but further investigation found that there were 4 with similar names that need to be done to complete the dedication. And he's done that, and it's in our hands.
We'll add a little wrinkle to that tonight. Tony called me this evening and said that Mr. Sweeney is still waiting on something from his attorney. After Tony sent this email, he found there was still one other thing missing. His attorney has not done that yet. He said Mr. Sweeney's provided everything that he needs to. The bonds are ready to go. But until he gets that last piece of information from Mr. Sweeney's attorney,
So we need to table this again?
Yep.
Correct? Thank you, sir.
Yep.
We will table, he's about to wrap it up, but we'll get that taken care of for Hadley's Corner. I'll move to I think it'd be appropriate, let's have a move to table it to the next meeting. Do we have a motion for, oh, is that right, Jim?
Well, yes. Brian Carter makes the motion that we table the deed of dedication, Hadley's Corner, till our next meeting.
Second.
Second to table the deed of dedication till the more information is found, puts next meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And motion passes 3-0, and it will be tabled. Next item is a resolution authorizing the Morgan County EMS to contract for services with private entities. I hope you've all had a chance to run through it. Basically, Josh, go ahead and explain what we've got here.
Yeah, if you guys remember, we've come a few times over this last year for specific agreements to provide EMS services, one at a concert, one at the high school. And it was discussed at the time, this is pretty administrative in nature. There's not necessarily a reason we need to bring these before you each time. And there's probably a way to streamline it. So Jim's laid out a nice resolution here. I know in talking with Don, he's got a suggestion he would like to tweak it just a little bit. But this would give the authority to the EMS department, as long as they feel that they have the staffing available, to be able to pick up events at an established rate and be able to handle that in a more administrative nature. So there is both a general contract and the ordinance, or the resolution to support that contract if you guys would like to move forward with it. And I will say, one of the big things is we have the ability to break it. If staffing doesn't provide for us to be able to provide for that event, we have no notification requirements. We have to give it our best shot, but we can break the contract and not provide service for that event if it's going to hamper the service we provide our citizens.
The only thing I didn't, that I questioned in the resolution was the bottom of the first page on the whereases, which I understand the whereas. It says where EMS has previously been required to obtain approval of the commissioners for each such agreement, but seeks authority to do so in its own discretion, and in doing so will bill at a rate of $175 per hour and only accept engagements of 4 hours or more. I don't have any problem with kind of handing off the responsibility for that we normally, they have to come with on each case. But I would just make a comment here and put it, I guess you'd say, as an understanding that and I assume this will happen because I know Keenan and all the group down there, but just I want to make that we see this in one of the reports so we know what they're doing. I think that's just appropriate. And it's just kind of, it's not overlooked. It's just an addition to the whereases. Does that make sense? Okay. So just, I guess you'd say an understanding that this is fine with me, but just make that we find a place in there to say which will be included in a annual report or biannual report or whatever is satisfactory. I just want to make sure it's reported. Any questions on that?
If that's the direction you guys would like to go, you can make a motion to amend the resolution to insert that so that that requirement stays with the resolution and not
Okay.
just residing in the minutes.
I'll make that motion that we include a reporting provision in the whereas. Go ahead.
Makes a motion, we approve the resolution authorizing the Morgan County EMS to contract for services with private entities with the amendment to include the director to also do monthly reporting if needed to let the commissioners know, as well as approving this agreement for services for Morgan County EMS.
On the motion that Commissioner Hale.
So you want that monthly or as needed?
As needed.
As needed or monthly?
I was gonna do it as needed, but I don't think they're gonna be doing it more than.
As needed
5
leaves
times a
it kind of
year.
a loosey-goosey. What, Jim, you got
He
to,
said monthly in his motion, he said monthly, but we discussed as needed, so it's a point of clarification before I
Right.
second it.
I'd say it's needed because he's not gonna be doing it that much, but I'm not legal counsel. He's setting.
Well, the legal counsel is, that way, I don't know, they've done it maybe 3 or 4 times in the last year, something like that. So, and additionally, you can change and you can ask them for reporting time you want to. I mean, it doesn't really change your authority, it just delegates it, but it doesn't lose your oversight. So I would say monthly is probably plenty frequent, maybe even quarterly, but, either way, if you decide.
They can put a 0. I'll second the motion that they'll report monthly. They can give us a report that says 0.
That'll work.
They can do that at the bi-weekly department head meeting.
Not a problem.
all right, we'll leave it as monthly, and you can always give us a 0. Does that work? All right. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Motion, I didn't say aye. Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you. We'll have
Thank
Jim
you.
insert that and print a new copy.
Print a new copy and insert it. Thank you, sir. Final order is we don't have the public nuisance ordinance, do we? One more time. We have also a additional appropriation that we need to request to cover the stipend that we authorize it for the council. We have to ask them for the money as well as the thing. So we have a request here that we need to send to the council for an appropriation. We're going to ask for the money to come out of the rainy day fund. And it's to be used for the employee supplement for work done in 2020. Any questions? That's in your packet there, but that's the funding for the stipend. I'll entertain a motion.
Brian Meyer makes the motion that we do an additional appropriation from the rainy day fund for the COVID employee supplement in the form of $50,000.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Oh, yeah, there's one more thing. We want to, I'm sorry, went over the fishing training compliance. We had, is Joe here? Well, but I don't think that's necessarily. Joel's our IT guy. And for you folks that aren't familiar with fishing, you probably ought, I'm not talking about the ones with scales. I'm talking about the ones that get under your skin and take money out of your pocket. I don't know what kind of fish those guys are. Sharks. We've got sharks out there, and if you're not careful, you catch one. And we had training to prevent it, and we had some, it wasn't complete. And so the question is, what do we do? How do we your ideas on what we can accomplish to get further compliance with that. Got any comments on that?
Mike, I got one question for somebody, Ms. Dree. I know we talked about this, and you said most all of them did get in compliance, correct? Do we have a
You-
magic number or percent that did not get in compliance? Okay.
Can you, I would like to just, I think to get it oversight that we can have. Can you get Joel to give us the names or the numbers of those folks that didn't and say, please? And then, I don't want to drop a bomb on them, but there's a reason why we do these things. And I think they need to be, I guess, in my opinion, they need to have some form of a, I won't call it a reprimand, but more of a encouragement to go ahead and take care of the very simple thing. If you think you're an expert, you're probably not. And in fact, I know you're not, because nobody's an expert in that stuff. Tricks come along all the time. I know I learned a lot when I took the training. And that's my comment, is to get the number, get the names, and we can send them a little please letter, and then it can veil a threat, I guess, if you wanted to. I don't know what the threat would be. We're going to take your emails, whatever. I don't know. I don't want to do that part, but that would just cause. But it's not a bad plan. If you're gonna abuse it for everybody, let's make sure you get it done right. That's my thought. Other comments from the commissioners?
I think it's important, if you're gonna be on our internet, that you have to complete simplistic training in order to stay on a county-provided internet and email. And I get this in the private world and get it in the public world, and I'm taking a lot of classes, and today I got phished, and I just forwarded it under security phishing, and it's telling me that I failed. So, I mean, everybody needs to be up on their phishing, because once they get hooked, then they're gonna be calling Keenan and wanting, or Ben and wanting EMS and get them hooks out of them. And if the county gets hooked, it could be millions and millions of dollars. So I'm a firm believer, if you do not complete this phishing, that we should shut off your email and shut that internet off. And if you can't get your work done, then you may not be working here. It's just part of the requirement to work here. I don't think it's that big of a deal. As far as completing the required educational training, I think it's a bigger deal holding out and not doing it. I think there's more risk to everyone, so if you don't want to do it, I would tell you to get a job somewhere else, because wherever you go, if you have internet, you're gonna be doing this training.
Yep.
I think removing access to the network and email is appropriate. And I think that's a good way to approach it.
I agree.
Well, you can see I'm the guy.
There was confusion at first, from what I heard. I think there was confusion in the fact that what they received to get their phishing training started, they interpreted as being spam, and so they got rid of it.
Right.
Once that was, you might say, cleared up, then I think then the second round, then folks got on board. But if we still have people that have not done the training, I think that their access to email and network should be shut off immediately.
I do too. Or show me where they're bonded for the millions of dollars in ransomware so that they can pay it. Because as a taxpayer, I don't feel I ought to have to pay it.
I think that'll get their attention, and then they'll do the training.
Well, you guys can understand, I was a teacher that let the kids turn in an assignment late, so I'm a softie, but I agree with you. That's the way it has to be done, because it's going to cost the taxpayer.
Did you let them cheat? I mean, that's.
I mean, they've already.
Well, I got an apology the other day from a kid that did it and felt bad about it later. And 20 years later, I get it as, oh, Mr. Adams, you did this, and I started, it was kind of touching, but yeah, they cheated. I'm sorry. But I can afford a kid cheating, but I can't afford a county official costing the county. So I support being a little, I guess you say, hard warnings and then drop the ball.
They've already been notified that it needs to be done. And this, I know I did my training weeks ago.
Yep.
I'm surprised that we still have individuals that have not completed this. That I don't think there should be, I think their next notice should be they don't have access.
Yeah. Are you ready
Well,
for,
I have to, here you go, Dan. I thought it was a spam when I got the first one.
Right, and there were many.
And I thought that, and I thought, I'm gonna touch this sucker with a 10-foot pole. But if we make sure that they understand that this was legit and was from us, that was the problem with the first time.
okay.
And if they see it is and they're just being obstinate, then let's say, well, I pull their account. So I guess that would be my notion. Go ahead, Kenny.
I'll be the bad guy. Kenny Hill makes a motion, we approve the fishing training compliance in the form of turning off their email and internet access immediately till they get in compliance with the fishing training.
I'll second.
Second, motion's been made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, I'll agree. Motion passes 3-0. Thank you. Takes
One
care
thing
of
that I
that.
will say, and I think it was before Dan even come, I'm thinking, but we did lose data here a few years ago because of this. And I know as far as in my 911, even though it was pretty protected, we thought, we did lose a couple communities' postal addressing in the 911 files, so. And we
there's a-
could not retrieve that, so.
There's a lot of sharks out there, and I agree with you guys. I just have a hard time being, but it's appropriate. I totally agree. Any other new business or old business to attend to before we go to the good of the county? Well, I'm going to bring up the first good to the county, if somebody has another one. But this weekend in Waverly, Kenny, I'll let you take it from here. You've been working on that committee so far and so hard. We're getting ready.
Glad to welcome you here to Old Town Waverly, the 6th Annual Festival up there. We'll be kicking off things at 10 o'clock, actually 9:45 to be exact. The first cannon volley will be set off, and love to have all of you up there. It's going to be a good time for all. We've got more vendors than we've ever had, craft vendors, demonstrators, as well as food vendors this year. Got a good assortment. A lot of live music, entertainment, and just love to see all of you up there.
And I'll end with sort of a short but amusing story about the cannon, because I'm going to have some white doves out there. And the first time I ever had white doves it was at a funeral. And I had 7 of them. They were actually homing pigeons. And some of you might remember Sam Carlisle. He was the funeral director. And I told him I was going to have my 7 pigeons out there at a certain time. And he wrote back and he said, I will have you know that Carlisle and Son does not have pigeons, they have doves. I said, okay. So I took my 7 doves out there, and they hadn't been trained just exactly as smart as I probably should. And I opened up the door for those 7 doves to go flying out, and they walked out. Looking around like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. And of course, the laughter from the group set them off, and they went. Well, the next one I had was a veteran, and they did a 21-gun salute. And I'm going to tell you, those birds, when it came time to leave, they were gone. So that cannon will get my birds out on Saturday morning. Fun time you have with birds. Any other for the good of the county? Well, I appreciate you all being here, and I wish you a nice weekend. I hope you can make it out to Waverly. It'll be a good time. And Sunday morning, biscuits and gravy and fried potatoes, compliments of the Lions Club in Mooresville. There's other things going on, but that's one I'm going to be doing besides letting birds go. So you guys have a great weekend. Thank you. Sign stuff, guys. Oops.
Motion to adjourn?
Oh, we need a motion to adjourn.
Kenny Hill makes a motion, we adjourn. Aye.
Aye, we're adjourned. I'm sorry. We still in session? I'm sitting here signing stuff.